All right, I want to introduce to you Milad Davoodi, who is the COO of Xcelerate,
Nice to be here. Hello, everybody.
and we're going to talk about financing, warranties, and leasing. So, first, let me tell you about Milad. He was the first Tesla employee hired in the state of Texas. That was back in 2011. You also helped to open the Houston, Dallas, and Austin locations, correct?
Correct.
He created the global used vehicle and trade in business for Tesla. So that was a first. And now you're the COO of Accelerate, taking EV adoption to the next level. Fun fact about Milad, you drove the first Model S Tesla that was ever built.
I did. I did. And a funny story is I was at the Peterson Museum about, I think, 3 weeks ago, and in the vault, and I just stumbled upon the Alpha Model S. And it took me back because I was like, oh, well, this is the very first Model S I've ever driven, and it's sitting at in the basement of one of the most renowned automotive museums in the world, and that was a really great pleasure.
What a moment that must have been, huh?
It was remarkable.
Yeah. So tell us about Accelerate. How did this begin? How did it start?
So Xcelerate started back actually in the early 2010s. We started in 2014, but originally our founder and CEO KJ Gimbel, he started doing leasing for Tesla before Tesla was actually able to lease the vehicles themselves. And this was this is a big deal, right? A lot of people didn't know, how is this vehicle is going to depreciate after a few years, making sure that they would have some sort of guarantee. And we actually created the RVG program, which probably a lot of people were familiar with, at least back in the day. So that's how Xcelerate started, and that's what we still do to our roots today. We do leasing and financing for on behalf of Tesla as a third-party lessor, for private consumers, commercial businesses as well, fleet partners out there, people that are looking to get a group of vehicles and really assist them with that transition and all the way through. And about 4 years ago, we started XCare EV Protection. That is a warranty product that we specifically designed from the ground up for Tesla, but made sure we made it for every battery electric vehicle. We took the existing Tesla extended service agreement out there and benchmarked that, essentially made it the same, tried to make it cheaper with a deductible that was about half the amount, and then made it available to all battery electric vehicle owners, but as well as giving various different options out there. People that drive a lot more, people that want to own their cars for many, many, many years to come. And it doesn't matter where you bought it from, whether it's used or from a dealer that was not Tesla, whoever, right? That was our goal, was to how do we build value in the vehicles that will be aging in these next 3 to 4 years, and not in small quantities, in large, large quantities. So we needed to make sure we were always thinking 3 to 5 years ahead. What are the problems that we are going to be seeing? And how do we create those products and services to, one, further mature the EV space, but also assist with those future owners out there that are going to be buying used cars? How do we give them the peace of mind? And how do we prepare ourselves to provide that solution in the future? Yeah.
Exactly. And so now, let's say I'm a prospective EV driver. I haven't quite bought my EV. I don't know which EV I'm going to take. How should I start to think about these kinds of programs? Like, should I consider it like, oh, I know as an Apple customer, I've got Apple Care protection. Is it like that?
It's so funny you say that. We modeled it after AppleCare. That was kind of one of our our branding exercises. Was they did it really well, right? They did it really well, and we wanted people to look at it almost in that scenario. We look at these as more like devices than as cars sometimes, and as technology increases and the amount of technology in the vehicle, the obsolescence cycle is incredibly high as well. So we wanted to make sure that when we give people the ability to kind of trade in and trade up, but also have protection with it. But yeah, when you buy your car, you can immediately buy XCare, and XCare is not just for people that are out of warranty. In fact, a bulk of our owners and our members, what we call them, our members, they buy right after they buy their vehicle, brand new from Tesla, after taking delivery, they'll buy a 10-year or an 8-year or 10-year option for their vehicle. So once they're done with their factory warranty, whether you drove the 50,000 miles or whether your car is now 4 years in age, then you start using XCare, right? So you don't have those surprise costs. We kind of mitigate that on our side. And how you service your car doesn't change at all. You still go through Tesla service. The experience is identical whether you had XCare or not. The only difference here is someone else is paying for the bill.
I kind of like that. How do you like that? Uh, so can you share some data with us? Like, if I don't have this versus if I do take XCare, what can I save? Like, let's say some part in the driver's seat breaks down. Can I just replace that part? And isn't that just a few $100s?
Yeah, that's a great question, right? So there's, and this is a very careful thing that we have to do. We don't want to sell based on fear. Our main core mission at Xcelerate is to get more butts in EV seats. We need to make sure that we get more people to either get in the car or stay in the car. So we don't say that, it's not a vehicle that continuously breaks down over and over again, or even something that, things that continuously fault time and time again. These cars are wonderful. That's why we're all owners, and that's why we're here. But ultimately, when things do happen, and it's at a much smaller frequency than that of your comparative gas cars, but when something does happen, the cost per repair is significantly higher. I will say from our perspective, from what we have seen, we have thousands of members out there nationwide. We have the average repair order that we pay out is $1,200. And that doesn't even differ between S or 3 or Y or X, surprisingly. And honestly, we actually didn't see that going into it. But that is the case. Every repair on average we're seeing is about a little over $1,000. Now, a lot of people don't have that saved up, right? Or that rainy day fund you might not have, especially in different times. So this gives you that peace of mind for years to come. And whether you use it or not, you have it. If you don't use it and you sell your car, you can transfer it to the new owner, or you can get a prorated refund. So it's almost like, this is how we would think what would be the best possible way to build a warranty for these types of vehicles, for this technology. What would we want to see? And then we walk backwards from there.
Yeah. Now tell us about the leasing and financing part of it, right? And tell us also, because it's probably what would be considered the least sexy part of owning a vehicle. Make it sexy for us.
Yeah, exactly, right? No, and we recognize that what we do isn't necessarily quote unquote sexy, but we really it's a necessity, right? It's necessity. There's so many players out there. There's so many business owners is the prime example. Or public entities, people that are trying to transition their municipalities or their state governments or their cities into electrification. The amount of learning that is required for that specific type of user, for that specific type of customer, it's totally different, right? It's entirely different. Now you're talking about how do we set up charging for a large amount of vehicles? Where can all these have to be replaced and, the servicing long term? And what's the cost per mile when you look at that entire equation? And that's what we built. That's what we show to help people understand what is that cost per mile of usage, not just now, but overall, your efficiency rating in the vehicle, the charging installation cost, the warranty options, all of that is baked in. But ultimately, people, in order for people to be able to buy the car, you need a way to actually get into it. And that's where leasing and financing comes in. I think most of us do not have $50,000 to $100,000 just laying around just to buy a car cash. So we really do need those options to help us be able to get in it.
So what's the difference between you and a bank?
Not a whole lot. So we really not a whole lot. A lot of banks, especially like with Tesla, it's very cookie cutter, right? Where you're just a number and you're not necessarily a face. And it's where we look at things of what's your use case? How are you planning on using these vehicles? And then we can give you our understanding and structure around what we've known that works, right? If you're a rideshare company and you're trying to lease a vehicle, going to a traditional bank, they're not going to have the knowledge and intelligence of the last 11 years working in the EV industry, understanding the nuances of these different types of customers and these owners and what works best for them. We have that intelligence, we have that data, and that's what we're willing to share. So every new customer we're speaking to is better than the last interaction we had because there's more information that we're able to give and dilute to them.
So what are people asking you? What are some of the toughest questions or the most striking questions?
I think overall it's, one of the biggest problems that we more recently solved was how do we transition our society over, right? So I'm talking about public sector. That was a big focus for us as a company, is how do we start thinking about transitioning the public sector over to electrification? And that's what we started building. So we started building calculations and calculators that are specifically designed for those types of stakeholders. You know, I need to have a pro forma MVPA to understand how many vehicles I want to buy, total amount down, because I need to get funding, or I need to go get approval, or I need, these are the new problems. We built for those types of customers. And right now, there are more than a handful, right? A few dozen players out there. But think about how many people in this particular world own cars that are not electric. At some point or another, every single one of them you're gonna have to reach out to someone to figure this out. And not only are we solving for the problem now, but once again, 3 to 5 years into the future, what are we building now to make sure that we can solve these problems into the future?
Exactly. So to that point, I'm sure you've had your share of challenges that you've had to face. What has been the most challenging in trying to bring this to market?
I think overall, some of the challenging factors are just working with our different partners. Now, not in the EV space, our different partners, our underwriters, because we do work with traditional banks. We just kind of field the customer and make sure that we have that customer experience driven all the way through. But working with the traditional individuals that do think about this more legacy, and getting them to understand what this new world is, right? It's easy for all of us attending this. We understand this. I mean, look around you, right? This is, thinking back 10, 11 years ago today, this wasn't even conceivable for most of us, right? But now this is normal. But there's still a majority of the population out there. 5% of people of new deliveries, of registrations are EV. That means 95% of new vehicles being sold are not. There's a lot of ignorance out there, and I mean that in a technical way, right? There's a lot of people that don't know how this works, and we need them. It's best we need to help them understand how this ownership experience works, the lifestyle of having an electric vehicle, the repairability, the product itself, and really selling that to them to be able to say, all right, I want to take this risk with you. Let's go. And that's been the biggest trouble.
Yeah. So I think anytime you have a challenge like that, you kind of want partners, right? Partners in crime, so to speak. Are you guys working with anybody that you're able to share?
We are starting to work with a couple different. We work with a lot of different partners, right? I think that's where we are better together than we are individually and as a part. We are working with people like here that are Tenet, for instance, and being able to really have a lot of synergies between the two companies and be able to say, okay, well, here's a warranty product that maybe that a lot of people of your customers will be interested in. People like Unplugged, because we're car guys, and in our core, right? It runs through us. That just so happen to become electric vehicle enthusiasts. So we can't go into detail about exactly what we're doing quite yet, but these are individuals and different organizations that not only are we just going to work with, but really jump on the front lines with and be able to help solve their problems that we are seeing cohesively together, and doing everything we can to just continuously push this mission forward and get more vehicles in these people's hands.
Gotcha. So what's next for you guys?
So next for us, a big thing, at least when we're talking about, let's talk about XCare for a second. With XCare, 4 years ago, we launched an extension of that 4-year and 50, your factory warranty, right? Your limited bumper to bumper. But then there's their battery drive unit. I think that's been a big question for a lot of people. And of course, this was not like a new idea for us, right? We always knew that was going to be the situation, but we needed to learn. We needed to build that intelligence. We needed to accumulate the knowledge of the rest of the vehicle, and then we needed to then expand in. And granted, they had an 8-year warranty from factory on those components anyway, so we had a little bit more time than the other one. But that's what we're launching out right now. So in the next coming weeks, literally less than a handful of weeks, we're going to be launching battery and drive unit extension. And this is going to be one of a kind, right? Servicing still through Tesla. We have almost the same exact terms as Tesla. We didn't want to shake it up. And we're not bringing the legacy world to this. We're owners. What do we want to see? We're all owners of our own products. So when something happens to us, how is this going to work? And we build for that. So battery drive unit extension is what we're working on. Another thing is really working with public entities, going to the state governments and being able to, in cities, and being able to show them what the cost difference is by transitioning and understanding that cost per mile, and working with people like Tesla and their enterprise team to be able to push that mission forward and create solutions exactly for those types of people.
And do you think that the governments when they set legislation, regulation, things like that, are they seeing the benefits of what you're doing and just in the greater context of things?
I think they will, and I think I think our from a philosophical perspective, our government is an extension of us. At least it should be. Let's just say that.
Yeah, no comment there.
Yeah, it should be. It should be. Our government should be an extension of who we are and the constituents involved. So, as more and more people own these vehicles organically, then they have to take a closer look at it. But no, are we seeing a transition and a shift in focus and want? I think is the most important aspect of that. The answer is absolutely yes. And we invite you more, right? So if you have a connection with these individuals, or you say, I think my city would do very well, come talk to us, because that's that's how we want to get introduced. It's way more organic, because like I said, we are members, we are part of this community, and we're going to help expand that as much as we can.
Yeah, and I'm also thinking, like, here, most of us here, I think at this event, passenger car drivers, right? I'm thinking, well, what about the fleets of, say, postal vehicles or trucks or delivery fleets? You're probably thinking way ahead of me there.
Yeah, so once again, not a whole lot I can say too precisely, but I will say that we are working with other partners in the world, not even in our country at this point, that are the largest players for, say, medium duty and heavy duty vehicles. There's a lot of Class 8 and semis that are about to roll out. Not just the Tesla semi, but Peterbilt. We have Lordstown. We have Nikola. We have all of these larger medium-sized and heavy-duty vehicles that are coming out. And that are electric. We want to be able to be on that front. So, and this is where it gets really interesting. We have also only focused in passenger vehicles to date, but that's not where we're going to be ending, right? Once again, what's our core mission? More butts in EV seats. We just need more people. Once these get on the road more, people start seeing it, people understand it, there's more people to talk to. We're no longer in the early adopter phase, and I really do think in the next 3 to 4 years, we're gonna start seeing that 5% of registration EV number that we're seeing right now, upwards to 20, 25%. And that's considered significant mass adoption in my mind.
That's fantastic. And so, have you guys learned anything from the ICE world that you've been able to apply, or have you just said, no, we don't need to learn anything?
No, I think that's a great question. It comes back to more philosophy. I think you can't ever deny knowledge. You can't ever put anything away just because it doesn't fit in the same mold as what we're involved in now. You must learn from everybody else. When I was at Tesla, I used to tell my team, go understand what everyone else in the world does. How do we do it better? And then what my job is to figure out what no one else in the world can do, and how do we do it and perfect at it. So we keep with that same type of knowledge-building philosophy. Learn from everybody else. But there's so many unique factors in the product, but also ownership. How do we build these products and services to really create the future that we want to live in, rather than replicating it like it already has existed in the traditional ICE world?
Got it. Well, any last words before we wrap up?
I gotta say, this is incredibly surreal. I do want to say that. I mean, I've been in this world for 11 years, which is crazy to say, right? Over a decade in the EV space specifically. This was a dream for a lot of us. In the very first few years, it was not guaranteed by any means, right? But
not even for Elon.
Not even for Elon, right? I mean, nobody. I think everyone was on the same page, and that motivated us, right? To keep on working, to keep on grinding. What's the next event? Let's get to the next customer. Let's speak to the new person. But to see this, this is unique. But I'm happy to say that it's not going to be unique from here on out, because this will now be the norm, and it's incredibly exciting, and there's so much more ahead of us. And like I said, we're going to create the world that we want to live in, not the one we think that we've already previously lived in the first place.
Well said. So I as a last thing, any inspirational quote, since I think you're the kind of guy who lives by an inspirational quote.
Yeah, I mean, I said a lot of them at this point. I think I prefaced it already, but I just never stop dreaming, right? Like these are one of the things. Is this was all a dream many years ago. And without that hope, without that vision, you're never going to be able to want to push the needle even further to accomplish those things. You know, creating the car is one thing, creating the technology is another. Rolling it out is incredibly challenging. But to get people to understand it and utilize it on a daily basis to where it's no longer unique and it's no longer early, it's never stop, never give up that hunger, right? That is always going to be there. That drives us continuously every single day. And that is our culture at Xcelerate, is we stay hungry. We always look 7 moves ahead. You know, this world is a game of chess.
Right, so I think never mind sexy, you just put passion into it.
I can't not have passion into this.
Amen. Milad, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's an
Fantastic.
honor being here. Thank you so
Round-
much.